Garrison residence. Who shall I say is calling? All right, just a moment, please. It's for you, Mrs. Garrison. He won't give his name, says it's confidential.
Oh, darling, don't think you had about enough for one evening?
Just trying to build up an immunity.
Thank you, Evelyn. Hello.
Somebody just threw a bomb through the window of your shop at Dearborn and Clay.
Who is this?
An insurance salesman. The premium's $85,000. Pay it and we guarantee safe operation to your cleaning plant and shops.
What?
48 hours, Mrs. Garrison. You'll hear from us. Oh, and by the way, don't phone the police. There's nothing they can do except make us unhappy. And when we're unhappy, you'll be unhappy.
Hello, operator. Get me the police, please.
Trouble, like people, comes in all shapes and dimensions. When it's odd-sized, my department handles it. My name is Frank Ballinger, Detective Lieutenant, M Squad, a special detail of the Chicago Police. It was after 9 when the call reached me. I was told to get over the Lakeshore residence of Mr. and Mrs. Claude Garrison. It seemed that the protection racket, along a dead issue in Cook County, was in business again. Sergeant Wendell was waiting for me when I arrived, and he sketched in the basic details.
This was just a contact call, Frank. Nothing was said about the time, place, or method of the projected payoff.
What do you propose to do, Mrs. Garrison?
Well, I'm a taxpayer. I expect protection from the police, both for myself and for the people who run my shops.
It's wrong, Louise. Dangerous.
My husband, as you can see, is a chronic worrier.
They made it very clear what would happen if we involved the police.
Well, it's up to us to see that they don't make good on those threats, Mr. Garrison.
Lieutenant, we have over 100 cleaning shops in the Enterprise chain. No matter how good your department is, an organized gang of hoodlums could easily do more than $85,000 worth of damage. Simple arithmetic.
Not to me, it isn't. I operate Enterprise. I make the decisions.
We know that, my love.
Understand, Lieutenant, this is a matter of principle, not economics. My first husband, well, he brought Enterprise from one small shop to the biggest, the best cleaning circuit in the whole Middle West. He never buckled under pressure, and I don't either.
Oh, allow me. Garrison residence. I'm speaking for Mrs. Garrison. What? Bad news. They know you've called us in. Your store on Superior Street has just been hit.
Well, how could they possibly know?
Come on, Wendell. We'll be back later.
They'll strike at us next. I don't want you hurt. We can afford to pay.
Nobody can afford to pay. They'll only come back for more.
What do you do when you're off on a trip without a road map? You just keep driving, hoping you'll see some familiar landmark. Sergeant Wendell and I spent the day systematically interviewing known criminals in Chicago who had previous records for extortion. We might just as well have gone to the ball game.
Me? Are you kidding? I've been out of the football business since '52. 3 years in Jolie learned me my lesson.
Could be you've heard a rumble.
The cleaning stores? Oh, that ain't no regular. Unless maybe some mob moved in town, I don't hear it. Honest, I hear things, but I don't hear this one. Sergeant Wendell. Oh, hi, Ed. How'd we make out? Uh-huh. I see. Well, we can't win them all. Thanks, Ed. That was a lab, Frank.
No luck, huh?
Any 6-year-old with a dime store chemistry set could have manufactured those smoke bombs. Are you guys through with me?
Sure, Archie, you can go.
Thanks.
Behave yourself, Archie.
Behave myself? I got a wife who's worse than a parole officer. He don't make no bed check every night. Yeah, that was the last, Frank. Archie was number 43.
43. And we didn't even turn up one possible.
Well, we learned something. Either they're imported or they're new on the line.
Hello, Ballinger. Oh, hello, Mrs. Garrison. Well, why didn't you notify us sooner? You what? We'll be right over. She just got contacted again, this time at the plant. And she told us to take a fly and jump in the lake.
Well, that ought to bring on some quick dividends.
It did. 5 minutes later, a fleet of 6 trucks went up in smoke. It had to be an inside job. We began checking out every person or employee connected with the Garrison cleaning system. We hit pay dirt a lot closer to home than we anticipated.
Now, what's this all about? What do you want with my secretary?
We believe that this is an inside job.
You mean you think that Evelyn... Well, I never heard of anything so ridiculous in my whole life. Evelyn has been with me for 3 years. She writes my signature. She cashes my checks. She has access to my safe. She's been like a daughter to me.
Your secretary has a police record. She was convicted of receiving stolen articles and harboring a fugitive. She spent 18 months in the House of Correction.
Evelyn, that's not true.
I was married to a man who couldn't stay out of trouble. He's dead now, so is that part of my life. I'm sorry, Mrs. Garrison. You've been so good to me. But one thing you've got to believe. I've had nothing to do with the shakedown.
Yes, of course I believe you.
I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. Not anything. I'll get my things and clear out.
No. No, you'll do no such thing. Evelyn has proved herself to me. If she says she's innocent, then I believe her.
Nobody is accusing Miss Rankin. We merely want to ask her some questions.
Well, you're not going to. Claude and I'll do all you advise about the money. That is your business. Evelyn isn't. Good day, Lieutenant.
Thank you, Mrs. Garrison. Thank you very much.
You pull the girl in for questioning.
Well, there's no point. We put a tail on her instead.
Meanwhile, we're right back to where we started from yesterday.
No, not quite. Mrs. Garrison was contacted again by the man on the phone, and this time at my instructions she agreed to meet his demands.
They set the routine?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Garrison's to deliver a package containing $85,000 in unmarked bills to a warehouse on South Clark Street at 9 o'clock tonight, to be left in a trash bin.
How are we going to work it?
You and I together, on stakeout inside the warehouse.
But how do we get into the warehouse without being spotted?
A truck will deliver us there this afternoon in 2 packing crates. Then we wait for them to show. Right on time.
You think they'll show?
It was their idea.
Could be a dry run, Frank.
We'll wait and see. You better check with the boys outside and see if they've spotted anything. That's an order. Don't worry, I got this. If it goes off, it'll bring 10 of them in here in a hurry. to us every inch of the way.
It's Claude now.
Mrs. Garrison, where's your husband?
I don't know. He's not back yet.
He dropped the money off 3 hours ago. Has he phoned?
No. What's keeping him? I'm getting frightened now.
Our men saw him leave the warehouse, get into his car, and drive away. Miss Rankin, do you have any idea where he is?
He doesn't know anything more about it than I do.
Mrs. Garrison, you and your husband were the only ones that knew we were in the warehouse. Somebody told someone. He's been beaten. Get an ambulance. Next time, don't call police. I don't think it was your husband that talked. Mrs. Garrison refused to let her husband go to the hospital. His injuries were painful, but not serious. The doctor had given him a sedative, but for some reason, the man was fighting sleep.
I'll be all right, darling. I'll be all right.
I did see someone running down that driveway. I don't care what you say. I saw him. I saw him over Claude's shoulder. He looked back. I saw him at almost the exact moment that I saw Claude standing there.
You mean with the shock of seeing your husband in that condition, at the same instant you notice a man running down the driveway, huh?
I knew the face. I'd seen it before. It was familiar to me.
Could you identify that face if you saw it again?
No. Please, no. What has to happen to make you see? Don't you understand they might just as easily have killed me? Pay them the money. Please, pay them.
But if I could identify just one of them.
One of them? What about the others? Do you think arresting one of them will end this? You've seen what they've done already. These men will stop at nothing.
Neither will I, Claude. Neither will I.
Mrs. Garrison came down to the precinct and we toted out the mug files. For once, we caught a break. It took less than an hour to spot the face she was looking for. Name, Victor Charbonneau, 1 prior, 2 to 5 at Joliet for grand larceny. If he was our man, he'd branched out. There's no mistake?
No, he's the one, all right. Only
what?
Oh, of course. Now I know where I've seen him. He works for me at the plant. But his name isn't Charbonneau. Haley. Oh, Evelyn didn't know what it is. She? She recommended him for the job.
Charbonneau, I'd like to have a little talk with you.
You got the wrong man. My name's Heffley.
We got a set of fingerprints on file downtown that'll give you a strong argument.
What's it this time? I forget to pay a parking fine?
Better than that. It begins with felonious assault and works its way up from there.
Assault? On who?
We got you nailed down, Victor. Mrs. Garrison made a positive identification.
You're talking through your hat.
Don't get smart.
If we're going downtown, let's move. After 6 o'clock, my lawyer goes on Golden.
Well, not so fast. While we're here, we might as well take a peek in your locker.
What for?
We're doing a survey on pinups. The key. It's in your hand.
Yeah, so it is.
Prussic acid, dye.
Well, you know the junk a guy collects.
And this, I presume, would be a smoke bomb.
Just keeping it for a guy. Didn't say what it was for, I didn't ask.
Yeah, we'd like to meet him.
He left town.
You should have left with him.
Let's go, Charbonneau.
Victor.
Well, miss, you better come along with us.
She's got nothing to do with any of this.
You're in no position to give character references. Now get him out of here. You better get your coat.
Where's Victor? What have you done with him?
Don't worry, he's in good hands. Why don't you sit down? Cigarette?
You can skip the cat and mouse routine, Lieutenant. Remember, I've been through this before. I've got my Ph.D. in...
Yeah, we just want to know about Victor.
Wasn't that funny? I thought you were going to tell me. that it was all a terrible mistake, that Victor was innocent, that Mrs. Garrison was wrong in her identification.
You trying to tell us you didn't know or even suspect?
We want a line on Victor's friends as acquaintances. You could help us.
It gets funnier, Lieutenant. It just gets funnier and funnier. You see, when I've got a man, I only want to be alone with him. In the months I knew Victor, I don't think I met one of his friends. I had him exclusively to myself. All the while I was just manufacturing one big grief. You don't believe me.
I didn't say that.
It doesn't matter. Whether you believe me or not, nothing matters. I wish he'd given me something to lie about. Because if he'd leveled with me, if he told me what he was up to, it would have been sharing, don't you see? This way he was only using me.
Lieutenant Ballinger. Oh, hello, Mrs. Garrison. What? Yeah, we'll be right over. Mr. Garrison was just kidnapped.
I'm to blame. I'm to blame for everything. It wasn't Claude's fight. I forced it on him. It was my money. It was my business. Yet Claude's the one who had to suffer the most.
What exactly was the phone conversation?
Well, I was told that if I wanted to see my husband alive again, I should retract my identification of Victor Charbonneau and see that he was immediately released from custody. We've got to do what they say. We've got to let him go.
It's not quite that easy.
But they'll kill him. We can't stand by and let that happen, don't you understand?
Mrs. Garrison.
If Claude dies, I'll be responsible.
Mrs. Garrison will do everything we can to help your husband, but the law cannot submit to blackmail.
Oh, baby, I'm sorry about this.
No, don't touch me.
You don't believe all these things they've been saying about me.
Stop it. It's too late, Victor. You're a dead man. You just don't know it yet.
What are you talking about?
Mr. Garrison's been kidnapped by your friends.
Look, you wouldn't kid me. This is on the level.
Kidnapping is a capital offense.
Now, look, I had nothing to do with this. I'm right here in jail. They can't hang this one on me.
But you're an accessory whether you like it or not. And if anything happens to Mr. Garrison, the charge will be homicide.
Those jerks, those stupid jerks. What am I going to do?
Don't you know?
No, you mean sing?
Would you rather go to the chair?
Look, I never copped out in my life, not once.
That's very noble, Victor. I'll put that on your tombstone.
All right. It goes like this.
He told us about a man named Fred Heaton who was in the plot to shake down Mrs. Garrison. He worked the cleaning plant and had made the phone contacts. He was at the warehouse now where Garrison was hidden. Heaton! This is the police. We got the place surrounded. You don't have a chance. Come on out. All right, Heaton, we're coming in.
I wouldn't do that if I were you, cop. You don't want anything to happen to Garrison.
You won't hurt him.
You're taking a big chance on somebody else's life.
Not so big. What do you think brought us here? Victor made his singing debut tonight. He was in good voice, didn't miss a note.
You're lying. Victor wouldn't spill.
To save his own neck, he wouldn't. If you're interested in saving yours, you'll throw down your gun and come out with your hands up.
Sorry. We haven't got a chance.
No, we can still make it.
You've gone crazy. You get us both killed. Grenade that gun. You're crazy.
Stay here. We're gonna see this through to the end.
This is the end.
We're lost.
What do you say? We coming after you?
No! We're coming out!
No.
We're coming out!
No.
Don't shoot!
Heaton, lie still. Garrison, listen to me. Your situation is hopeless.
I know, Lieutenant. I'm used to it. It's been hopeless for years. You've met my wife?
Throw out your gun. We don't want to shoot you.
Why not? Did I ask for special privileges? I'm sorry, Lieutenant. I can't quit now. I couldn't face her in the 8.5 miserable years of our marriage. I've never had one private thought. She's watched me, bossed me, told me how to wash my face. This time I almost put something over on her. But she's a stubborn woman. Stubborn. I framed a perfect deal. She wouldn't budge. Gives you an idea of what I've been up against. $85,000. That wasn't much to ask. $10,000 for each year I put up with her. She was getting off cheap. I could buy Fred Heaton, Victor, to help me. Not her. Can we get it over with, Lieutenant?
You don't want me to shoot you, Garrison?
You're wrong. I want something all my very own. Just once.
Sorry, Garrison. I'm afraid we can't oblige you.
Okay, Wendell.
Let's go, mister.
It's been a real fiasco, hasn't it? I couldn't even get myself killed. Well, there's one comfort. She can't follow me to prison.
Did Evelyn tell you he was here?
What have I done to him? He hates me. I always thought we had a life together. I always tried to do the best for us. I need him. He hates me. What did I do wrong?
Maybe you should have let him know that you needed him. Sometimes nobody wins, and you're just a cop who's done his job. And you go home wondering why you don't have a feeling of satisfaction when you nail some people. All of Mrs. Garrison's money couldn't keep her husband out of prison. She knew that he was sick and stood by him. It was one of those tragedies that can happen anywhere, in big cities and in small towns, even in my town.
Tune in again next week for another exciting story from the files of M Squad.